Okay, Daf Gimel Amud Bet. The Gemara says, "V'David mi hava yada palgad delelai." So we learn that David HaMelech said, "Achatzot laila akum." He would wake up at midnight and he would praise Hashem. Or there's 3 different pirushim that we learned yesterday. So it turns out that David knew exactly when midnight is. Okay, so Gemara has a question on it. Hashta Moshe Rabbeinu lo hava yada. תכתיב, כחצות לילה אני יוצא בתוך מצרים. מהי כחצות? אילמה דאמר לקודשא בריחו כחצות, מי כספקה כמשמעיה? אלא דאמר בחצות, ותהיו ואמר כחצות. על מה? מספקה לה. ודוד והווה ידע? So Gemara says, how can you say that David HaMelech knew exactly when chatzot is if Moshe Rabbeinu was not sure about it? The last plague, Makat Bechorot, it says, "Kachatzot alayla ani yotze b'toch Mitzrayim." It says, around about, approximately at midnight, I will go and I will strike and I will kill all the firstborns in Egypt. It doesn't say bachatzot, exactly at midnight. It says kachatzot. What does it mean, kachatzot? So, our Gemara will explain. If we say that it's referring to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Moshe Rabbeinu, that around about midnight I will kill all the firstborns. Can you say that there's a doubt in heaven? Hashem is doubting. He's not sure if when exactly chatzot is. Hashem knows everything, so we cannot say that this kachatzot, this doubt, this safek, is referring to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So we have to say that it's referring to Moshe Rabbeinu. Hashem told him bachatzot, at chatzot, exactly at chatzot, Hashem will kill all the firstborn. And Moshe was not sure about it, so therefore he said kachatzot, because he was not sure when, couldn't determine, he didn't know exactly when chatzot is. So it turns out that Moshe Rabbeinu had this doubt. So how can you say that David HaMelech was sure about the time when Moshe Rabbeinu had this doubt? Gemara says, the answer is, David simana havalis. David had a special sign to know when chatzot is. Da'amar Rab Acha bar Bizna, Amar Rabbi Shimon b'Chasida, כי נור היה תלוי למעלה ממיטתו של דוד, וכיוון שהגיע חצות לילה בא רוח צפונית ונושבת בו מנגן עליו. מיד היה עומד ועוסק בתורה. The Gemara says that there's a harp that was hung over the bed of David HaMelech, and there was a northern wind come and blew on this harp, and it was a sign for David HaMelech to wake up and to learn Torah until dawn, until Shalom Shachar. Okay, so Gemara says that there was an incident that once he was sleeping and he woke up at Chatzot by this spiritual special alarm clock, and a group of rabbis went into his house and asked a question. It didn't happen every day, but it happened once. Amulo, the rabbis told him, Adonenu HaMelech, our master, our king, your people, Am Yisrael, need sustenance. They need food. They need parnasa. Amar lehem, what's the problem? Go and support each other. There's 2 pirushim. One, that the rich people, the wealthy people, need to support the poor people. The other pirush is, even if you're all poor, but if you support each other, if you help each other, then you will make a parnasa. You will make a living. Amulo, no. In a kometz must be aitari. The handful of food cannot satisfy a lion. First example. Second example, venabo mitmale mechulyato, and the pit cannot fill up with its own earth. Okay, so Rashi has one pirush. Tosfot brings few other pirushim, another 2 pirushim. So one pirush of Rashi, Tosfot is challenging Rashi by saying, it's if you're asking for the rich people to support the poor people, so it's not just taking earth from. Let's just read it here. He says, so Rashi is saying, is challenging Rashi. He's saying, if you saying that the rich people need to support the poor people, so the example of the pit is not a good example, because he's taking the earth and putting it back. So it's like taking from the poor people and giving them back the money. So Tosfot says it's not a good example. Therefore, they say it's like a pit it's not fill up with water, and the only thing you can do is to create another channel. Okay, create another water from a different place that will be drawn to the spit. Okay, so in other words, a supply from a different resource. Okay, so what she's saying, doesn't make sense. That's why Tosfot argue with him. So anyway, that's what happened. So that's not a good solution, right? Amar lehem, so a different solution of the Melech said, Lechu pishtu yidechem bigdud. Go and fight against your enemies, particularly Amalek. Amalek were kind of looting and destroying and killing and stealing the money from the Jewish people. And another big difference in what's going on nowadays with Hamas, right? So they go inside, they kill, they steal. Okay, so now you have to fight back, right? You have to fight back. So that's what David Melech is telling them. Go and take the money because why are they poor? Because what the enemies are doing. The enemies are stealing and destroying things. So you go and fight back and take the money back. Amalek, right? Good solution. So then you will have a different resource for the parnasah, for sustenance. The Gemara says, okay, as soon as they heard this answer from the Melech, they were waiting for this answer, right? So there is a process. There's a 3-step process until the troops the soldiers are standing on the borders and fighting the enemies. First thing is miyad yoatzim b'Achitofel. First, they take advice from Achitofel. Achitofel was a very wise general. He knew all the tactics, all the different ways of fighting. So first, they take advice from him. And then the second process is that they ask permission from the Sanhedrin, the big court, but not just permission, but they also want them to pray. We see that when you start a war, when you wage a war, you have to ask permission from the rabbis, but also because you want them to pray on your behalf. The third thing is Shoalim be'Urim v'Tumim. They ask from the Urim and Tumim, as we learned, if you remember in Shavuot, we learned that Urim and Tumim, there's a breastplate, and there's a machloket between Rashi and Rambam, what exactly they were doing. Some hold that there was a paper between the stones, and that they will open, and the other argue and say that the stones were giving you a sign by certain numbers, certain letters were like suddenly light up, yeah. So there's a different machloket exactly how it worked. Anyway, it worked. They asked Urim and Tumim, and then Amar Rabbi Yosef. Okay, so that's a 3-step process until they started this war. The Gemara says Amar Rabbi Yosef, Maikra. Okay, from we learned that was the procedure, that was the way of starting this war. Okay, the pasuk mentions all the names, and the Gemara says, and we learn from this pasuk, Achitofel is a yoetz. Achitofel was the one that will give advice, the advisor, and he knew all those techniques and how to fight. וכן הוא אומר, ועצת אחיתופל אשר יעץ בימים ההם כאשר ישאל איש בדבר האלוהים. The pasuk in Shmuel says that the advice of Achitofel, that he gave advice in those days, was that just like a person asking the words of God. Incredible. So see, Achitofel was such a great person. After Achitofel, the Gemara says, Benayahu ben Yehoyada, the Sanhedrin. Benayahu ben Yehoyada was the head of the court. He was the head of the Sanhedrin, and they would ask him, as we mentioned, they were asking for permission, and also they wanted him to pray on their behalf. The third process, Eviatar, Elu Urim v'Tumim. Eviatar was the high priest, the Kohen HaGadol, and they will ask him, and he will give them an answer. And the Gemara now will prove that they will first ask the Sanhedrin. They will first ask the court, the rabbis, before asking the Urim v'Tumim. Just imagine how important the Sanhedrin was. Urim v'Tumim, it's like asking HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But what comes before, prior to that? Sanhedrin, the rabbis, ask them for permission, ask them to pray. Incredible, right? Urim v'Tumim, it's the words of God. It shows us, Lo b'shamayim, Torah is not in heaven. Torah is here. Once the Sanhedrin, the rabbis are here, they make this decision. First you have to ask them. So in other words, it's not going to help, even if the Urim v'Tumim tell you you're going to succeed in this war. First you have to ask Sanhedrin. It comes before Urim v'Tumim. Ma says, וכן הוא אומר, ובניהו בן יהודה, על הקרתי ועל הפלתי. What does it mean, על הקרתי ועל הפלתי? That בניהו בן יהודה comes before קרתי ופלתי, meaning, in other words, they have to ask them before you ask קרתי ופלתי, before you ask the Urim v'Tumim. Okay, so now it's interesting that we have this name, Urim v'Tumim and קרתי ופלתי. So why are we calling it Urim v'Tumim? We understand Urim v'Tumim. saying in different places what exactly we're talking about. What does it mean karti ufarti? Why are we also calling it karti ufarti? The Gemara says, "Velama nikra shmam karti ufarti? Shekortim divrehem." Meaning the answer is very precise. The answer is very clear. The few words and you get the whole picture. That's karti. Like brit kurta l'svatayim. Koret habrit. What is koret habrit? When you circumcise the baby, koret habrit. You cut it. Very clear, very precise. koret habrit. V'upalti shemuflim b'divrehem. Muflim b'divrehem, it's a kind of it's a phenomenon. It's a wonder. That mufle pele. It's incredible. The answer they give you, it's incredible. Okay. And then finally we get the Sar Tzava Melech Yoav. Finally, the head of the army, the manager, what do you call it? The general of the army, Commander, the general of the army. He gives all he starts the war after all this procedure. Okay, the Gemara says, Amar Yitzchak Amar Barada, Amar Rav Yitzchak Bered Rabidi, Maikra. The Gemara now goes back to the first part, the first sugya that we were discussing about David HaMelech waking up at Chatzot, and from where do we learn that he was? From where do we learn that he woke up by this harp? Okay, what's the source of this phenomenon? The Gemara says, Ura kevodi, Ura never bechinor, Ira shachar. Ura kevodi means, as we learned yesterday, the kings sleep 2 hours extra, right? Because they're kings. Right? Everyone is working for them. They can speak, and that's the way of a king. He wakes up late. He's a king, right? But David HaMelech says, Ora kevodi, my kavod, my honor is to wake up early, not like the kings. Yeah, I'm a king. I'm David HaMelech, but I'm not like other kings. I wake up before the other kings wake up. Ura never bechino. And here is clearly, explicitly saying that the kinor, the harp, was waking him up. Ayira shacha, like we learned in Shulchan Aruch every morning. Yeah, Tamar shacha. You should wake up the dawn, not the dawn wake you up. Meaning you should wake up before dawn. And that's the source of this harp waking up David HaMelech. Okay, the Gemara says the second answer for this question. Let's go back to the question. What was the question? The first question was, how can we say that David HaMelech knew exactly when Chatzot, when midnight is? So what was the answer? The answer is they have the harp. By the way, Rav Yashi has asked a very interesting question. Okay, so you say David HaMelech had this harp. Why didn't Moshe Rabbeinu have it? Good question, right? Moshe Rabbeinu can also use this harp. He gives 3 answers. One of the answers, he says that this thing of the wind from the north, from this and that, it didn't happen in his days. It only happened later on. So Moshe Rabbeinu really didn't have all this system. That's what he says. Okay, but so that's the first answer. Let's get to the second answer. The Gemara says, Rav Yisrael Omer, Moshe Olam Ve'ada. David Nama Ve'ada. They both knew exactly when midnight is. Okay. So the Gemara says, V'kevan David Ve'ada Kino Lamale. Oh, one second. If you say that David HaMelech knew exactly when the midnight is, so why does he need a harp to wake him up? The Gemara says, of course I need it. Why? It'oreh mishnateh. There's 2 different things here. There's a fact that he knows when Chatzot is, but it doesn't mean he's going to wake up at Chatzot. So who needs to wake him up at midnight? The harp. Of course he knows when Chatzot is. If theoretically it will be Leil Shavuot, he will tell you, yeah, now it's exactly Chatzot. Now it's midnight. But if he's sleeping, he needs something to wake him up. He needs an alarm clock. He needs a...
There wasn't the harp that told him.
Huh?
There wasn't the harp that told him when...
No, the harp waked him up. That was the need. Anyway, the question now was, okay, if Moshe Rabbeinu knew exactly when Chatzot is, so why didn't he tell them Chatzot, and why did he tell them Kach Chatzot, why round about Chatzot? The Gemara says, Moshe Kasavar Hashem Haitu Istignenei Paro, Ve'emu Moshe Badai. The Gemara says, Moshe's concern was that maybe his advisors, his magicians, his astrologers will tell him that, will misunderstand Moshe Rabbeinu, or they will play with his words. They say, you said 12 o'clock, and everyone has a different watch, right? So they can play with him, and they will say, Moshe Rabbeinu told that they don't care about what Moshe Rabbeinu did. They want to catch him. They want to see where his downsides, his failures, right? So Moshe Badai, Moshe is a liar. He told at 12 o'clock, and now it's spelled 1. or it's 11:59, because each one has a different time. So Moshe Rabbeinu was very wise. He says, why do I need to get into it? I will just say, kachatzot. And the Gemara learns from me a very important principle. The Amar Mor, למד לשולך לומר איני יודע, שמא תיבדה ותיאחז. It's very important sometimes to say, I don't know. Why? Even if you know the answer, but people would explain you in different ways, and you know it's going to happen, so just say, I don't know. Okay, you don't know, we'll leave you alone. Okay, that's just as it did to Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu said, kachatzot. I don't know if it's going to be exact chatzot, but kachatzot, all around the mouth. Despite the fact that he did know. But he knew what it's going to lead to. And it's going to lead to confusion, and people will challenge him. That's the second answer. And that's why Moshe Rabbeinu said kachatzot. As opposed to David HaMelech, nobody is challenging him. So he said chatzot. Exactly midnight. That's the second answer. The final answer is Rabbi Asha Amar, בפלגה אורתא תליעשר נהגי 14 בקר. Moshe Rabbeinu was standing on between the 13th of Nisan and the 14th of Nisan. And he was speaking not to Paro, he was talking to Am Yisrael. And that's what he said. V'chika Amar, Moshe Yisrael. That's what Moshe Rabbeinu told Am Yisrael at that point, at that minute. אמר הקדוש ברוך הוא, למחר כחצות הלילה כי יעיד נא אני יוצא בתוך מצרים. So he was telling him, now I'm standing at Chatzot, but tomorrow, in another 12 hours, tomorrow, at this moment, this time, the plague will take place. Every firstborn in Egypt will die. So up to now we understand what does it mean, kachatzot. It means around about, more or less. Rav Ashi says, no, the kaf is not standing for more or less. It's standing to, like now, I'm standing here, 12 o'clock, wait another 12 hours, boom, there will be a plague. Kachatzot. Okay, so kachatzot, Moshe was sure. But kaf is not standing for a doubt. It's standing for the meaning of kaf here is like, just now we're standing here, everything is normal, and wait exactly another 12 hours after when Chatzot takes place, you will see Hashem will start the plague. That's the final answer. That's Rav Ashi's answer. So we have more. So far we have three answers. Three answers for this question. It's interesting that Rashi, if I recall, doesn't quote this answer. He quotes the second answer about the people misunderstanding it. Interesting. I don't know why, but that's what he says. Okay, Amen.